A Night Without Stars by James Howe. See? It's kind of hard to see in the dark, but that's okay. We have mood lighting. All right, let's get it going. Chapter 2, by the way. Here we go. Maria, call your brother down for supper. Your papa and Carlo will be home any minute. And Maria... What, Mommy? Don't run up those stairs. You know it isn't good for you. Just call. Miss Tyrone went back into the kitchen as Maria pulled the corners of her mouth back tight. Why did her mother have to treat her like a baby? Don't climb, don't run, don't jump. What fun is it living in a 2-story house if you couldn't race up the stairs 2 at a time? It hadn't always been that way. It was just in the past few months, ever since she started having more of a problem with her heart. What did they think anyways? That she'd have a stroke and die? That thought startled Maria into a new one. What if she did have a stroke and die? Of course, Maria then thought maybe her mother was treating her like a baby because lately she had been acting more like one. Since coming home from the hospital last month, she had been calling her mother Mommy instead of Mom. One night, she even wet the bed. 11 years old, and she wet the bed. She just about died of embarrassment from that one, but fortunately, her mother never said a word to anyone else. It will be our little secret, she told Maria. God, if Joey ever found out. She could just imagine what mileage he would have gotten out of that. Joey, Maria called out. No answer. How could he hear her anyways with his radio blasting the way it was? She tried again. Nothing. Joey! Supper! Nothing. She sneaked a peek at the kitchen door. Her mother was nowhere in sight. Skipping every other door, she zoomed to Joey's and Carlo's room and pounded on the door. The loud thumping of her fist sounded the way her heart felt inside of her chest. The door flew open. Joey glared at her from the other side, hair slicked back with grease, with white t-shirt open to the 3rd button to show off his Medal of the Blessed Mother. Black pants tapered down to the black shoes polished to a fine shine. He was a vision. His shoes weren't the only thing about him with a shine. Maria noticed a brand new pimple glowing like a headlight on the tip of his nose. Oh boy, aren't you pretty? Maria said. What? She smirked and raised her voice. Turn down the radio, and you'll be able to hear. What have you got to say that I needed to hear? Joey shouted back. Maria mouthed the words. You've got a pimple on your nose. Ugh. I said, it's time for supper. Get washed. Maria shrieked. Oh. Maria, Joey, stop that yelling. It's not good for you, Maria. And turn that music off. Joey, come to supper. Maria could hear Anna screaming in the kitchen. Sometimes she thought she was glad it wasn't her mother. Her life sure wasn't easy. Of course, sometimes she'd wish she weren't herself. Going into the hospital to have your heart opened up wasn't so easy either. Who would she like to be? She often asked herself. She hadn't figured out an answer on that one. At least, not yet. The Tyrone family sat wordless around the table that night. Even Anne was still for a change. Forks and knives and ice-filled glasses tinkled and tinkled and clicked like summer wind chimes in a distant breeze. Maria ate the entire meal holding her breath, or at least it felt that way. When was someone going to speak? Salt? Maria looked across the table at her father and passed him the salt shaker. Salt was one of the 4 words, or 5, depending on how you counted, her father used at the dinner table. The others were pepper, butter, and it's good. The rule of the Tyrone dinner was simple and unstated. First, no one was to mention anything that might upset their father, who, it was assumed, that he had a hard day at work. The second was there to be no fighting or raising voices. These rules seriously limited discussion, and usually meant that either Carlo entertained everyone with stories from the plant, or Joey and Maria at their mothers arguing, and in a few words as possible, told everything that had happened to them in school that day. With school out for the summer and Carlo in a uncharacteristic quiet mood, Maria was sure they'd finished dessert, and the only words she would hear the whole time would be salt, pepper, butter, and it's good. But then Joey broke the silence. Since Maria's going to the hospital tomorrow, he said, "Can I sleep in her room?" Maria could feel her throat closed around the lima beans that she'd been fighting their way down. "I am coming back, you know," she said after swallowing. "You know that. I mean, while you're gone." "Joey, eat your dinner," Miss Tyrone ordered, shaking her head. "Your sister is having a big operation, and it isn't time to ask about sleeping in her room." "But if she's going to be there, that's enough," Miss Tyrone said sharply. "Anyways, it's not fair that she has her own room and I have to share," Joey muttered. Carlo leaned back in his chair, reached around Maria, and grabbed Joey by the shoulder. "Huh?" Joey grunted, feeling his brother's firm grasp. "Cool it, brother," was all that Carlo said. Joey resumed eating, and the family fell silent again. After a few minutes, Miss Tyrone sighed and raised her eyebrows mournfully, looked across the table at her oldest daughter. Maria, she uttered. She shook her head and stared down at her plate. Maria looked from mother to father, who remained impassive. "Don't worry, Mom," Carlos said. "Then, Dr. Whelan is a good doctor, and he'll take care of my Maria." "Oh, yes, I know that," agreed Miss Tyrone. "I'm not worried." "Why not?" Maria wanted to say. "I am." "It's just," Maria's voice trailed off, looking up, and she said, "You're right, Carlo. Dr. Whelan is a fine doctor." Then, suddenly putting on a smile, she added, "And so beautiful, huh?" Joey laughed. "Beautiful?" he asked. Blushing Miss Tyrone explained, I mean, like a TV doctor. His hair is nice and wavy, with just a little gray at the temples, and he's so tan. He can afford to be, Carlo interjected. He has a good square jaw, too, Miss Tyrone went on. I like that a man has a good square jaw. Maria glanced at her father, who didn't have a good square jaw, and she wondered what he thought of her mother and what she was saying. All at once, he looked up, glanced around, and opened his mouth to speak. Butter, he said. Joey passed him the butter. Miss Tyrone continued. He's not like that Dr. Collins at the clinic. I never liked him. You only met him once, Carlo reminded his mother. Since Anne was born, it had been Carlo who took Maria to the clinic, not their mother. His hands were wet. He was nervous. You know the type. I like that Dr. Whalen's better. He's got a dry handshake. Yes. If we just believed in God and Dr. Whalen, our Maria will be fine. And now it seemed that whatever doubts that had been plaguing Miss Tyrone had been put to rest. Maria wasn't sure whom she liked better, Dr. Collins or was friendlier. She knew that. He was young, and she enjoyed the way he kidded around with her. It was funny, though, that even with the joking, he seemed to take more of an interest in her, to care about what happened. After all, it was because of him she had gone to see Dr. Whalen in the first place. And the decision had been made to have the operation. One thing she knew for certain, she could never decide that somebody was a better doctor based on his hands were drier. Grown-ups sure were strange sometimes, especially parents. She had missed some of what she had been being said, but she did hear her mother say, We'll all pray for Maria. We'll pray that everything will be all right. I'm going out, Joey said, pushing away from the table. Got a date? Carlo asked. Joey reddened and said nothing. You can go out after you clean the dishes, Miss Tyrone responded. Maria looked up. That's my job, she said, annoyed. Joey doesn't have to do it at all. I will. Now, Maria, her mother said patiently, we've been through this before. It's not good for you. Yeah, Joey agreed. Maria never has to do anything around here. And I got stuck with the girls' jobs, like clearing dishes. Now, Joey, it's not fair, Joey continued. He pushed back his hand chair and stood, and his anger raised with them. Just 'cause Maria has a little problem with her heart. Little problem? Maria blurted out. Yeah, Joey said. You think you're too good to work anymore. No, I don't, smarty pants. If Mommy would just let me. Maria, Joey, no fighting, Miss Tyrone reprimanded. Now stop it. It's not good for Maria. You don't have to keep saying that, Mommy. I'm not invalid, you know. Really, I'm okay. Maria felt her heart racing inside of her chest. Just as she thought she might explode, a scream interrupted from Anne. Now look what you've done, Miss Tyrone said to Joey as she picked up the crying child. Look what I've done, Joey cried. Sure. Everything's my fault. Everything is always my fault. He bolted from the table and ran out the front door. Maria noticed that her father was silently eating the last of the meatloaf on his plate, not looking at anyone. How does he stay so calm? She wondered. Carlo tapped her on the shoulder. Want me to help? He asked. You take the glasses. I'll take the plates. Maria knocked softly on her parents' bedroom door. Come in, her mother's voice inviting. I can't sleep, Maria said, standing in the darkness by her mother's side of the bed. She loved the smell of the lilacs in this room and the cool, silky softness of the sheets. She wished she could sleep in there tonight. Just tonight. She wanted to lie in the valley between her mother and her father, be safe there, smell the violets until sleep came. Her mother stroked her hand gently for a long time. You want me to sing to you? She asked at last. Maria nodded her head, but her mother couldn't see. Ew, yes, come. Her father stirred in his sleep as they left the room. Moments later, in Maria's room, Miss Tyrone rubbed her daughter's back as she began to sing. Miss Tyrone rubbed her daughter's back as she sang to her. Sleep, my love, and peace attend thee. All through the night, guardian angels, God will send thee all through the night. Mommy, nothing bad will happen to me, will it? No, nothing bad. God will watch over you. And you. Yes, God will watch over me too. He watches over everyone. No, I mean, you will watch over me too. Oh, yes, of course. Rolling into her back, Maria looked up at her mother, with the moonlight casting its shadow and a long, loose strand of hair gliding down the side of her face. She looked like a Madonna in a painting. Maria smiled at the thought. Always before, her mother had looked like a mother, never a Madonna. I hope when I grow up, I'm pretty like you, she said. Why, thank you, Maria. But I think you're very pretty right now. Really. Mm-hmm. The operation won't make me ugly, will it? Tisk, Maria, why should it make you ugly? Maria imagined a hideous, bumpy scar running down her chest. She saw herself as a freak, laughed at by the other kids when they went swimming. She silently vowed she would never again wear a bathing suit. Will it hurt when they cut me open? Miss Tyrone winced at the thought of the scalpel touching her daughter's skin. You'll be sound asleep, she said. You won't feel a thing. But what if I wake up? You won't. But what if they give the heart of a bad person? Marlene said, is that what's putting such ideas into your head? What does Marlene know? You believe your friend when you should believe the doctor. But the doctor hasn't told me anything. He's told you what you need to know. But, Mommy, and what you don't know won't hurt you. Just have faith, Maria, like I do. Remember, when you don't know, when you can't know, when that is the time for faith. God will take care of you. Now, close your eyes and go to sleep. That's what you need more than anything, sleep. Looking into her mother's eyes, Maria wished she wouldn't keep telling her to leave everything to God. But what if while she was having her operation, God was busy with someone else? When she closed her eyes to try to sleep, she saw herself lying on an operating table. "Tell me again it won't hurt," she said. "You be a big girl, and nothing will hurt you." Maria was startled to hear her father's voice. She opened her eyes and made it out a shadowy figure in the doorway. "You be brave," he said, his voice gruffed from sleep. "Nothing bad is going to happen to our Maria 'cause she's a big girl, yeah?" "Yes, Maria," her mother said then. "Now sleep, sleep. Nothing bad is going to happen." An hour later, Maria still awake. Her parents had gone back to their own room, to the lilac smell and the cool, soft sheets. Maria sat cross-legged on her bed, staring at the suitcase she and her mother had packed earlier. "What if I die?" she thought. "What will it be like? I won't be here anymore. Anna won't have a big sister. And Carlo will have to take care of Joey for rides in his car instead of me. I know Carlo likes me better than Joey, but if I'm dead, what choice will he have?" She looked up and saw her reflection in the mirror on her dresser. "Pretty," she thought. "That's what Mom said. But will I be pretty after?" Her eyes drifted down to the bottom ledge of the mirror. The wooden frame cut her off right at her shoulders. She was relieved. She didn't want to have to check for the beginnings of breasts, and she did so often these days when studying her image in the mirror. Because she looked tonight, all she'd be able to see would be a scar, even though it was hard for her to imagine what it would really look like. She thought about Joni and Tina, then about how lucky they were to not have nothing more to worry about than when their breasts were going to start growing and when they would have boyfriends. Maria had begun to wonder about these things too in recent months, but now she had bigger worries. Worries about her friends couldn't begin to understand. What was going to happen to her anyways? Have faith, her mother said. When you don't know, have faith. But having faith wasn't such an easy thing. It wasn't like she was little when she went to church and said her prayers, because then everything went the way it was supposed to, and nothing went wrong. And even though she'd always known her heart wasn't normal, she just lived with it, and she thought she always could. But now, she closed her eyes and listened. The house was very still. "Please, God," she whispered inside her head, "help me to have faith and don't let me die." And please don't let me be a freak that the other kids will laugh at. And don't let it hurt too much, God. Be there for me, okay? God, be there like Mommy said you will. Maria crawled back into the covers and she drifted to sleep. The moonlight slipped through a tear in her window shade. It fell across her body and severed the darkness like a knife. That's the end of chapter 2. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.